Evening VC and YouTubers everywhere. This is going to be my response to James Griffiths' 100 Subscribers contest. He had what I thought was a real good idea for a contest: show a record and talk about the record, or a song that reminded you of an old buddy, an old music friend, something like that. I thought that was a great idea. Of course, I'm an old guy myself, and it took a little work for me to try to think of something from way back then that I could share with everybody, and I had a few ideas. This weekend, the family is at Disneyland, so my records, which are a mess, I had them all over the house in boxes. I started doing some organizing and looking through old records, and I found 3 records that I had forgotten all about that were perfect for this contest. So I'll start off with my first record. Paul Lingo, Final Curtain. This is actually a new sealed record, never been opened. But when I moved to California in 1970, before the year was out, I had met this gentleman, Ed Sprinkle, and we became good friends, good musical friends. He passed away about 18 years ago, but for many years we shared the love of music. I loved going to his house. He's one of those guys that had a big basement with several rooms, so we could go down there and just be in the cave. He had a nice library full of books on music. I always loved to go there because I'd find some new music books that I wasn't aware of. And of course, he had a couple player pianos down there. We listened to music. We liked all kinds of music. We shared a lot of musical stuff, and we collected a number of other things that were not musical related that we also had interest in. Our particular interest together was the early jazz, blue, and ragtime that was recorded on player piano rolls. And we were both big roll collectors and reproducers and so forth. He had a friend, John Farrell, who was also gone from us now, who was from England. He could listen to any piano recording and set down on a scroll of paper and transcribe out exactly what the person had played. So when you put a piano roll on, it sounded just like the guy was sitting there playing. We get that in the camera. The first time I met John from England, he was at Ed's house, and he brought a few favors in his suitcase. He brought what was one of my favorite records at the time, the Norwegian pianist Morten Gunnar Larsen, playing some Jelly Roll Morton style stuff. He had transcribed from the record, did this piano roll. It was called Tickling Bolden, with John Farrell's compliments. And he wrote on it, "This edition is limited to those worthy people who deserve a copy. This copy is for Richard Riley, John Farrell, 6th of June, 1987. You can't see it in the camera here. I'm just on a webcam, but over against the wall, I have a 1911 Steinway full-size upright player piano that's been completely restored, both the piano and the player." Had a number of visits with John Farrell from England. He'd been to my house before, and another person that we shared music, and we shared the piano rolls. And of course, I met him at Ed Sprinkle's house. The next person I want to show, this record. None of these records I doubt anybody in the VC has ever seen or heard of. Fingerbuster, John Gill. Okay, for this gentleman, I produced 4 albums over a 15 or 20 year period. In 1992, he was at the Rocky Mountain Ragtime Festival in Boulder, Colorado. We had made an agreement for me to produce a recording. I went to that festival to meet him, and over the years we became fast friends, musical friends, not just because I was producing some recordings. This is a Stomp Off Records which you can see on the back. You maybe can't read it. He said, "Yo, Richard, signed about 10 years later, all the best, John Gill." Okay, the record came out, and he may have still been in England at the time. He was born and raised in England, and then as a young adult, he and his family moved to Perth, Western Australia, where he lived. He passed away 3 or 4 years ago, was only age 57. He was considered one of the top stride pianists in the world. The last year he was here, shortly before he passed away, he was here for a week at Thanksgiving, and we felt really great to be able to share Thanksgiving dinner with him, and be a great loss to the music for this young guy, a very young person when that recording was made. So another one of the guys that's gone. My third record. Eubie Blake, introducing Jim Hessian. Okay, a lot of you probably don't know who Eubie Blake is. One of the most important American musical figures there's ever been. If you don't know anything about him, look him up, check it out a little bit. In about 1973, I went to a live concert and show at the Wilshire Ebell Theater in Los Angeles. Eubie Blake was about 86 years old at the time. He was the featured performer. Also on that show was a young Jim Hessian, who was still in college at the time. We didn't do anything with him till some years later, but I met him at that time. And one of my highlights is this particular concert. Well, some years later, one of the third or fourth albums I produced was with Jim Hessian and his wife, who was a singer. Jim started out playing various places. He played for many years at Disneyland in Southern California. When Walt Disney opened up Disney World in Florida, he sent Jim and his wife there to play one of the venues there, and they played there for about 10 years, and they had enough of playing at Disneyland. They moved back to Southern California, and then a number of years ago, they moved to Gulfport, Mississippi, and he's been an active professional musician in the New Orleans area, playing with a lot of the jazz bands and so forth. And just 2 months ago, at around age 65, Jim Hessian passed away of cancer. So sorry, folks, that all the videos I'm showing are people who are no longer with us, but I'm an old guy. With the miracle of modern technology. Apologize in advance for the sound. We're doing all of this on the webcam on the computer, but we're going to have Jim Hessian play us out, playing his version of Jelly Roll Morton's Black Bottom Stomp. Yes, I hate to stop that wonderful music, but through the miracles of technology, starting with the early player pianos and the latest technology, we can have Jelly Roll Morton, who died in 1941, or some of these great musicians who have just passed away recently, performing live on our piano. So I hope you enjoyed this video. James Griffiths, thank you for your videos and congratulations on your 100 subscribers contest. Hope you all enjoyed this.